everyone, welcome to another Anime Kingdom manga review. See by the title below, yes, this is on chapter 238 of Shokugeki no Soma, and honestly, this was a chapter I was pretty excited to see because, like I had said before in my previous review, this was the one matchup that could go either way. It could go with Momo winning, or it can go with, Megumi winning, and honestly, it definitely, that's for several reasons, obviously, it definitely got me wondering how everything was going to go, because as I was talking, in my last, review and everything, I started to say, like, I can't see this happening. It feels like that Momo will probably win because they can't have a complete 3-0, but as I thought about it more, and I ended up talking in my last review about it, it would make sense in a way that Megumi ends up winning. And the reasons behind that, obviously, is the whole fact that Tsukasa and Rindo are literally, as we know, on a whole nother level compared to everyone else. Not saying that Momo is bad, not saying that Saito is bad. They're obviously shown that they are really good. But in terms of the ranking system, obviously, and in terms of just what we've seen, Tsukasa and Rindo are leagues above even both Momo and Saito, which just goes to show that if they are that good, the Rebels are definitely going to need some way to beat them, and the way to beat them, of course, would be through a battle of attrition. We saw that Kuga, with the help of Misaka, was able to pretty much get Tsukasa super exhausted, and Rindo's battle as well got her super exhausted to the fact that, she ends up going in pretty much hibernation, and we have Tsukasa literally looking like he's about to just drop dead on that couch. So, if possible, if there is a way for them to beat him, it would end up being the whole fact that we would have all of them, everyone left, be able to go up against them, and somehow they beat Rindo, and then after that they all end up losing except Soma, because in my opinion it's probably going to end up with Soma going up against Tsukasa. And while we saw before that not even Kuga with help could beat him, and as we saw before when they did have that little, it wasn't a full-blown Shokugeki, as Tsukasa ended up calling it off and everything, that he is definitely better than Soma at the moment, and even Soma has shown to realize how good Tsukasa really is. But if there was a way for him to beat him, that of course would be the fact that Tsukasa would have had to been super exhausted from going up against everyone else. So it does make sense if that is how it ends up going. And before you start saying, like, how do you know Soma's going to make it? Well, I mean, it's kind of assumed that he's going to. He's the main protagonist. Yes, that does take a lot of the fun out of it. And if somehow Soma did end up losing and is not the main, reason that they end up beating them, the Elite 10 and everything, that would honestly be a pretty dang huge twist. Like the biggest twist that we have ever seen in this, series in Shokugeki no Soma. Like by far anything. And that would honestly be pretty crazy. But I don't know how that would work. Like, what is it going to have? Megumi being the last one to win? Maybe that's possible. Maybe Edina, as showing her father that she is better, as she's, she doesn't need to follow his ways and she can be able to beat him. And it'll be something like some romance in there with Soma supporting her. I would love that, actually. Now that I think about it, that would make sense too. But in my opinion, I think it's going to end the way that I think it's going to end. And it's probably going to have Soma being Saito. And as we saw already, Aizen lost to Takumi in the last one, which obviously that wasn't a surprise to me. That was the one matchup I was super sure about, who would win, because Aizen, honestly, in my opinion, is the weakest of the Elite 10. I keep saying that, but it honestly is shown over and over again why he's, like, the weakest of them all. I'm not saying he's, weaker, the fact that any student could beat him, but in terms of the Rebels, in terms of Takumi, he, there's no way I saw Takumi losing. And if he did lose, that would be a huge detriment to his character development, honestly. And honestly, I could not see that happening, because that'd be a huge, detriment to his, morale and everything. And honestly, that would probably bring down everyone else. So the first matchup had to be won by the Rebels, and of course, that's why they had it Takumi versus Aizen. The second one, of course, is Megumi going against Momo, and even if Momo somehow wins, I could still see it going that way. But like I said, I just have a feeling that it's going to be a complete 3-0, and then in the fact that it's going to be all of them going up against the final two. But nonetheless, Momo is not someone to just like act like she's, to go walk over, because as you saw in this chapter, which is pretty dang crazy, honestly, we've seen here and there some of Momo's stuff, but this one, holy shit, when she ended up making that and she brought a basket of roses, I was like, is that like some edible roses or something? and it ends up being tarts that she made to look exactly like roses. Those things look exactly like flowers. Like I did not like I would love to see that be animated in the anime, because I want to see how those look. Do they really look like flowers? Because yes, they look like flowers in this, but the whole thing with not having color kind of, you know, it kind of makes it like, oh, maybe it could be fake kind of thing, you know. But obviously that is of course not real flowers, and of course the whole taste and everything with the whole, you know, her using flowers in it though, and the apples and everything that she did was literally pretty damn crazy. And I love the way, you know, they made her look like a, you know, a fairy and everything. And but one thing is, for what we've seen many times, is that pretty much almost 100% of the time, almost 100% of the time, if there is no foodgasm where the clothes go off, that person usually, you know, usually loses. And we did see in this one, their clothes were not off. They were fairies and everything. I mean, I guess you could say the guys kind of had no clothes, but they still had those things around their waist, which means, yeah, it was not a full-blown naked foodgasm. And normally when that happens, that means that the other person is going to win. Now, of course, that doesn't mean for sure, obviously, but that does show that, like, oh yeah, maybe it wasn't as good as we all thought, you know, even though it was enough to pretty much change the personality of Uraha. So that was pretty crazy. But honestly, when you see at the very end of the chapter with her pretty much, you know, Megumi trying her damn best and, you know, promising that she's going to do a lot better than ever before, and she had Shinomiya teaching her as well. I'm pretty sure what Shinomiya's teaching is probably some new thing that she has not shown yet, and it's probably gonna be a pretty crazy dish. That's why I'm super excited to see how this one will be, because like I said before, it could go either way. Maybe Momo was too much, but still Megumi kind of just, you know, does get so close. Like, it's a super close win by Momo, and barely a loss by, of course, Megumi. And maybe that'll change, you know, Momo's, you know, the way she thinks, because as you saw in this one, she was so sure of herself. You don't see as much expressions, but we did see her, but she had these smirks and everything, and I was like, damn, okay, this is kind of a different side that I've not seen Momo really. And I mean, it was pretty interesting to see it, not gonna lie. But yeah, I have a feeling it's gonna be Megumi winning, but like I said before, either way might be possible. And then of course after this will probably be the whole matchup between Soma and Saito, and like I said before, I'm pretty sure Soma's gonna win unless there's some pretty damn crazy twist, which will still do good in my opinion for the storyline. But yeah, that's all I really gotta say, guys. Overall, a pretty awesome chapter to get started off with. We already got Momo finishing her dish, and now all the hype is going into Megumi's dish in the next chapter, because as we saw at the end of this one, we had her whole thing with him, you know, Megumi calling Shinomiya coach, and her stepping into the ring and ready to just take her first strike. And honestly, I was like, oh shit, man, next week's probably going to be, I would say, the best of the three, because I still think that Soma is going to end up winning, so it's not going to be as crazy of a, like, holy shit, he ends up winning kind of thing, you know? While Megumi, like I said before, I keep saying this, but it honestly stays true by the fact that this is the one matchup that can go either way. So that's why whenever you have that kind of question mark on who's going to win, it just makes it better. When you kind of have a feeling who's going to win, it kind of takes away the excitement of that whole thing, you know? So hopefully they maybe change my mind, and maybe the Soma Saito one will be even crazier. But I have a feeling this next one, this next chapter, is probably going to be the best of these three matchups for sure. But yeah, that's all I gotta say, guys. Hope you enjoyed this Anime Kingdom manga review. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. If there's anything I missed and you want to talk about, comment below as well. And if you did enjoy, don't forget to like. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe for more content. And as always, guys, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. How did you feel about this chapter? What are your expectations? What do you think is going to happen? Whatever you guys want to talk about, feel free to comment below. It's always awesome to hear your guys' thoughts as well. And until next time, guys, see ya.